Hi everybody, it's Linda Carroll here from Gatherer of Great Things Studio, and this is part 2 of my mermaid collage in my art journal. Again, my art journals, my collage art journals are very much inspired by Tisha Moore. She journaled for probably 20 years or more, and I love her style. I love her colors, her freedom that she expressed in her journals. Mine are a bit different in that my journal pages are pretty much a narrative of what is going on in my life at the time, and they tell a story as well as, or along with, the quotes and the writing that I do on the pages. I'm not quite as spontaneous as Tisha was, and I think that probably comes from my graphic design training and work that I did for a long time. The most intuitive part of my process, as I said, was gathering together all of the different pieces that I think I'm going to use in a collage, and from that the collage evolves. Yesterday we did the layout of the mermaid and some of the background and some of the border. As you can see, I looked for additional pieces to use in creating the border and in the mermaid herself. I did a crown on her head, which is not pasted down yet, and I've added a friend for her to go gliding through the sea with, this little sea turtle. I like to use jewelry in my collages because when I go over top and do my embellishments and drawing, they're already simplified, and I'm not drawn into trying to make these too realistic. That's another reason I like working with artwork from children's books as well. I found another piece of artwork, probably from a magazine, I would imagine, of a sea floor that I added down here to go along with the jewels at the bottom of the sea. I like it because now I have some overlapping, giving it even more depth and dimension. When I was on my cruise, one of the things that I really noticed and loved about it was that time seemed to slow down, and so I've included a watch down here in the collage. And going through my stash, I found a picture of me. I probably was about I'm thinking 5 years old when that picture was taken, maybe 6. And I think I'm going to try and find a mermaid crown to put on my head, but I thought I would pop a picture of myself in there. My pages are fairly personal, and as I said, they tell a story. I found a number 51, which was right beside something else I was cutting out. I think it was this image here for her crown, and I thought I would include that over here as this little lady is offering a gift up, and 51 happens to be the number of my home by the sea, so I thought that was kind of fitting to go there. I know I've talked some about it. So what I'm going to do is start gluing pieces down. I have a new glue stick, so hopefully I'm not going to be battling with the glue again today. The only piece in here from Tisha Moore's art pages is this little tag right here, this little exhibit tag. I'm trying to do more and more of my own collage pieces, and I decided that I'm going to do a couple pages in this journal where I'm taking patterns that I find and translate them into my own pattern. So this is out of a magazine. There's pieces of it. It was an urn that was kind of rusty and looked rusty and tarnished. This is graphic 45 scrapbook paper. Let's see, I don't think I added anything else. These seashells were from the children's book, and this was from a home decorator magazine. And I thought that was a pretty neat design to put into her crown. So again, let's take a look and see which pieces are the farthest in the background. And I think this piece right here looks like I have my crossword puzzle book that I use for my glue pages. And I'll show you what I do with those when I'm finished using it for gluing. Again, I'm taking it right up to the fold, but leave a little bit of space around the entire page so that when I'm turning the pages, I don't lift up the collage. And then I think this one is going to go on top. I spend a lot of time fussy cutting, especially these seashells last night. And I know that would have probably bored you to tears to watch that, but you know, it's very, like I said, very meditative to me to do that kind of work, and I like it, as well as the collage. I have my stamp with 50 on it. Again, I'm starting to overlap things on the border. It just gives it some additional depth. Oops. Picking up my seashells. Okay, I think this piece next. My husband and I went for a walk today, and he's been after me to start walking with him for weeks now. So I said, okay, I will take some time away from my studio and go for a walk with you. So we went for about a half an hour walk. I told him that every day I'd add just, you know, a little bit further. I'd go a little bit further. Naturally, I spend a lot of time bending down and picking up trash or whatever it is I find along the road that I might be able to use in a mixed media piece or a collage or an assemblage. So, but I did get a half an hour walk in, and when I did my first collage series, I mentioned these little tiny collages that were 3 inches by 3 inches. I was living in Baltimore, and was actually getting my master's degree at Maryland Institute College of Art, where I ended up teaching for a few semesters. I was very fortunate to be able to have that experience, but I was walking along one of the little streets, picking up trash to use in my collages, and I looked up and there was a house for sale, and just so happened it was right across the street from the college, and I ended up buying it. But that's not really where I was going with that. But I told my mentor what I was doing, and he said, oh, you are flaneuring. And I had never heard that term before. And so I did some research on the art of the flaneur. And it turns out that it was kind of a funny connection, but a flaneur was kind of a dandy in France who collected things on the street, not necessarily trash in the gutters, but anyway, I always thought it was a fun little connection, so I would always say I'm going flaneuring, and I actually found a lot of strange pieces to use in my collages on the streets of Baltimore. And there was a book written by, her name was Candy Jurgensen. I think I have it on my bookshelf here. Hang on just 1 minute, and I'll see if I can find it. Yeah. There it is. And Jernigan. Candy Jernigan. And it's called Evidence. And it is about objects lost and found. So she was quite a character. And her collages and art journals consist of things that she found and collected through her life. And I've always loved just looking through this book. She'd make notes and, her daily, just her daily life, what she was doing, where she was going, the tea that she drank, the Sprite that she had. I mean, she even had samples of peanuts that she would put. Here's a assemblage that she did. Looks like a dead rat. Don't think I would do that. But anyway, if you're interested in this type of work, which mine are a little bit more of a illustrative narrative than her work, but I've always collected journals and that type of thing, so I enjoyed looking through that. Anyway, so I go flaneuring still. So on my walk this afternoon, I was trying to find things that I could use in my work. I was not successful, unfortunately. So I think this stamps I'm going to overlap right there. And I've glued this down. To get I'm always aware of edges and making sure that my edges kind of line up so I don't have these little teeny tiny spaces. I don't know, it just makes the overlapping more successful. Little Little Linda Carroll. Dreamy little girl. Tuck her down here in the sea. Not really sure what I'm going to do with myself, but I think I will put a crown on. I tried adding different eyes. I didn't like that on me. I wanted to be able to see through my own eyes, so it works for my characters, but it did not work for me. Okay. I have the corners balanced with the same artwork, and it just makes the whole piece seem more cohesive, I think. Kind of traveling around this glue page, so my pieces don't get too sticky. One thing I have discovered, if you make, you can't really make a mistake, or if you do something that you want to change, at least on this paper, the glue stick and the any kind of dirt or anything will come off. I actually trimmed out a part of the dress right here. I wanted the form to come down and flow more easily into the tail of the mermaid, and so I use these white erasers and go over it gently, and it picks up, you know, pretty much all the little dirty areas, and brush away the eraser bits. Okay, and I think my little turtle. One thing nice about that glue stick not being really a good one, it must have been old or something. I could easily pick up sections I had already glued down. So I could pick up her thumb and paste it back down. So that worked really well. Decided if I want that. I think I want that under her. Do I? No, maybe not. Maybe I want it over her finger. And under the thumb. Slide under there. I looked at this space down here and it just seemed a little bit too empty. So I just hope this fish doesn't go after the little turtle. Okay, I think we have everything pasted down except for the crown. So a lot of times what I do is I'll snap a picture of something that I've laid out so that I remember what I did. Let's see here. They were like that. But I think this one's going to be easy enough to work with. So I don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be exact, you know. It doesn't have to be perfect or too perfect. That's one of the great things about working with this type of collage. And this one in the background. For some reason, my camera turned off and I wasn't aware of it. So I moved on a little bit further in my collaging, and I finished gluing down her headdress, and I also had an extra shell left over, so I put that on my forehead. After I finished gluing everything down, I decided to start working on the background. And the first step in the background is I use pan pastels. They're an artist pastel. They're very matte, very soft, and they don't smear. They kind of set into the paper. So I've done quite a bit already, and what I do is I go around the edge of the paper with a lot of the pastel. I use a makeup applicator to apply the pan pastel and kind of scrub it into the surface of the paper. And then as I move towards the center of a space, of an open space, a negative space, I let up on the pressure, and I make it much lighter, make the color much lighter towards the center of the space. It just helps to define the objects and the paper that I cut out. And also it lets the writing that I do on the page show up better. But I go around all of the objects, and this isn't only the first layer on the background. I get pretty persnickety at this point. This is really where my work differs from Tisha's. She paints all of her backgrounds, and she'll go through her sketchbook or her journal, and she'll paint all the backgrounds, and then she'll go in and do the borders, and then she'll go in and start collaging. I tend to finish each one individually, and I'm telling a story, and I'm in the moment, and I like to finish a piece and know that it's pretty much done, at least the collage part, before I move on. But after this is applied, the last thing I do before embellishing and doing the lettering is I go around the edges of all the objects with a colored pencil and define it even more, define the shadowing even more, and making the images pop even more. So sometimes I'll use my fingers to blend a little bit, and again, this can be very, very meditative practice. And I tend to lose myself in this kind of work. Okay, I have one little area up there to finish, but I think I'm going to show you what I do with the color pencil next. Let's see, do I have the blue that I need? I may not be showing you. Oh yeah, here's something I can use. Okay, usually I use Prismacolor pencils. They're very soft, and I like the way they go onto the paper. But I don't see the color blue that I want to use in this. So this is a Prismacolor, but it's a different set than I usually use. But this is what I do. I go in around the edges of all of the collage pieces, and I make the area close to the paper a lot darker than the rest of the negative space. As I move into the center, I just start picking up on the pressure, and you can see how the images kind of start to pop out. And this takes a while to do. I'm going to finish this tonight. I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me do all of this shading. But it does give a really, really nice, did I do it on these? That one I didn't. But you can see on this one how going around with the color pencil just defines this image and really makes it pop. And then also this lighter area here tends to go into the background, I think, and when I write on it, the lettering shows up really, really nicely on that. So I'm going to finish this part, and tomorrow I hope I can come back and be working on and doing some of the line work and embellishing. I don't know that I have all of my border finished either. I think I need to go in with some washi tape and add a little bit more color and interest to the border. And I will probably do that tonight before I start video taping, and I'll show you in the next video what I've added. But I'm really pleased with the basic layout here and how everything's come together. I like the flow through the page. I have a lot of repetition of shape and color, and I think that I have told a part of my story through a lot of the use of the map and some of the numbers and symbols, so I'm really anxious to finish this and see what it evolves into. I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm going to do the dress yet, or her body. I like to do fish scales for her tail. So all of those things I'm probably going to sleep on tonight and see what happens tomorrow. So thank you for watching my process today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, and I will see you next time. Many blessings. Bye-bye.